I think we are in an interdependent relationship. Because even Wancho told me
Nice.
this, that he was crying and he had a bit of anxiety in the first week that he was in lock-in. But then after that, when he started working, it kind of felt like, this is what he said, the days passed by quickly because he was doing something. He knew that I was safe and I was also busy with work, and he was doing something that he loved, and we were fine. We're in a healthy interdependent relationship. But that's not to say that the other kind of relationship that I talked about on TikTok that people asked me to do a podcast episode on, the codependent relationship, is a bad thing. It just
Yes.
happens to be two very different things. And Aaron Atayde will start us off with a conversation on the difference between codependent and interdependent relationship. Parts?
Okay, I grew up being a codependent, and a codependent in the sense that my dad was an addict alcoholic who was a recovering addict alcoholic. So what happens there is the person that I don't want to say is an enabler, but is kind of the person that is always around and kind of excuses some of these really bad habits and things that they do. Those are called codependents. So for instance, I kind of grew okay with my dad abusing drugs and abusing alcohol, and that's what codependency is, where you are dependent. You are dependent on that person regardless if that person is good for you or not. You know what I mean? So your behavior adapts to them instead of it being reactive to each other. So it's like, I don't like codependency in relationships. Are you okay? You said that you're kind of okay with codependency in relationships, right? Or are you not?
I'm okay with it in the sense that I understand that certain personalities and relationships work in codependency.
Mhm.
Like, some people really thrive when they're dependent on other people, and there are other people who thrive when somebody is dependent on them. So if you
Okay.
put those two kinds of people together, obviously your relationship is going to thrive.
There's a difference between being interdependent and being codependent, because interdependent is I would enjoy it if we were experiencing these things together. Codependency is I cannot enjoy these things if we are not experiencing it
Yes,
together.
get that.
And that is it. I cannot survive without you. Manipulation is a big thing in codependent relationships, because usually it's somebody that drives down the point into somebody's head that you can't do this without me.
Yeah.
You know how you always have that one friend in your barkada na lagi nawawala pag may girlfriend or lagi nawawala pag may boyfriend. Diba? Isn't that like the ultimate example of a codependency relationship? Yung, uy, may girlfriend na ulit si ganyan. Kaya pala nawala na naman sa mundo. Yon! That is
Babalik yan pag
codependent.
nag-away sila or nag-break.
Oo. Tapos pag nakita mo na ulit, nag-break na kayo? Nag-break. Kaya pala nandito ka na ulit.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because I have been in codependent relationships, like especially when I was younger, and it felt right during that time, because I think, well, my prefrontal cortex wasn't fully developed yet, so that's why it felt like I was being they were a lot older than me, so yes, that did make me feel whole. But when I became older and I became more sure of myself, the more I wanted an interdependent relationship, because I already knew what it felt like making somebody my everything and then losing that person and then feeling like I lost everything because that person was my everything. But parts, now I want to ask you about the pros and cons. So just objectively, I believe that if you're listening to this podcast right now and you are in a codependent relationship, we're not shaming you. We've
not at
been
all.
there. We understand that. But let's talk about pros and cons here. Let's start with codependence. Ano sa tingin mo yung mga bagay that are positive about it and negative about it?
Positive about it is, I think that for people that might have anxiety, I think a codependent relationship is something that can help them out sometimes. The problem that happens with codependent relationships is when somebody realizes that they're in a codependent relationship and they're the one that's in control and they take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's so good. That's parang speaking from experience, parts.
Sobra. Aba mismo. Would you look at that?
Ang ganda nun, ah. That was wisdom and experience-filled statement.
Straight from my heart.
Straight from the heart.
Been that. Yeah.
Okay, so interdependence naman. What are the pros and cons for you from your experience as well? Well, from your current experience.
The pro of an interdependent relationship is that you guys being that I haven't been in many, no, baka wala akong masyado mabigay. I think that the good thing about being in an interdependent relationship is that you guys you grow. I mean, you are obviously really growing together, and you're trying to make each other better. But that is where it is also very dangerous. When sometimes if you're in too much of an interdependent relationship, somebody might get a little bit too comfortable with being interdependent, and then you lose the and then they immediately just become independent on you, and that is a scary thing.
It's a sense of balance, really, because I feel like both codependent and interdependent relationships could be used and weaponized if should you want to.
Yes.
For example, with interdependence, yeah, it sounds so healthy, but find someone who's just super selfish. Going mo interdependent, they're really not gonna care. Like if you don't grow, because as long as they're growing and they're getting the benefits of the relationship, they wouldn't care. Like it could go both ways. But I think it really is about figuring out what fits your personality and the kind of relationship that you want to be in. If your personality is the type of personality that thrives in being in relationship with people who will constantly rally you. Kasi may mga ganun eh. Parang there are certain people that won't go forward unless you're with them. And those people thrive in codependence. Na, I'm not gonna pursue this dream unless you're with me. I'm not gonna move to a different country unless you're with me, you know? And then there are certain people who are interdependent naman na, I'm gonna go and do my own thing. Then let's meet each other at the top if that's something that you're also interested in. And I think for me, the reason why we've strived to be in an and here's the thing, I think our marriage started off as a codependence.
That's what I was gonna ask you as well.
Yeah, it started out.
It really does start that way, no?
It does. It starts off that way because especially when you're so in love, you feel like I can just get my energy, my willpower, my wanting to be better, my want to be successful, my want to do anything from this love that I'm feeling right now with my partner. But then, when you go deep into the relationship, you'll realize na you interchange energies and interchange your capabilities as a couple. One person cannot just depend on the other.
To be completely honest, I think all relationships should start as a codependent relationship because you need to grow first together. You need to grow your relationship together. You need to nurse it. You need to have it grow. You need to build goals together. You need to understand who the person is with you. And then it reaches a point where you have reached the optimal growth as a couple. And then you need to go back to start growing as individuals who are with each other. So you start out as codependent relationships, and then you transition into an interdependent relationship.